So here we are once again for yet another unboxing, this time something a little bigger and a little bit more familiar to some of you out there. This is the LOSI Promoto MX. This is a 1/4 scale motorcycle. It comes ready to run with the exception of battery and charger. However, you can get a version of this, which is the green one, which comes with a battery and charger if you want to go down that road, although it is a Spectrum battery and charger, and the charger is really not that great. So if you want it just for the color, then I guess you're going to have to get that particular one. But these are available in 3 different schemes. As I said, the green one is the one that comes with the battery and charger. You have the blue one, which is what I've got, and there's also a red one, which is pretty hard to come by actually. I was kind of hoping that maybe I could get the red one, but you know, I ended up with the blue one, and I'm totally fine with that. It is what it is. I'm just happy to get my hands on one. And I do have to give a bit of a shout out to Metro Hobbies for hooking me up with one of these, because to be honest, I wasn't sure if I was actually going to get one in this shipment, and I'm really happy that I have. Because now I get to show it off to you guys. I get to experience what all the hype is about with this motorbike. And of course, I can start looking at online for some upgrades and some bits and pieces to really customize it and make it my own. But we'll get into that a little bit later on. For now, let's just get rid of that box while it takes a big old tumble off the table, and we'll bring everything up a little bit closer here so we can have a better look at what you actually get out of the box. As I just reach out for this guy over here. I may actually just realign the camera a little bit so you can have a better look at everything that you actually get in the box. So as you can see, you get the bike fully assembled and ready to go. You get your radio over here. They also give you this little stand for you to prop your bike up on and have it sitting nicely on the shelf. So that's a nice little addition. First thing in my hand here is actually this little tools bag. You get a couple of spanners in there. There's some big old nails in here as well, which I'll tell you in a second what they're for, and a couple of other plastic little tools to help you work on the shocks and other parts of the bike. This stand here, that's what those big nails are for. You actually pin them through here. And you can actually stick this to the ground, and this is for when you're racing with a bunch of bikes. You pin this down, you set your bike up here, and you launch off as hard as you can, and the nails kind of prevent this from getting kicked back and flung over to God knows where, and then you have to go look for it. So it's a really nice stand. I think it's probably got a little bit more attention to detail than it needed to be. But it is a very nice piece of equipment that they've included in the box. Whether or not I'm actually going to be using that's a different question. You also get this little baggie with a foam block, which I presume could be for when you're using shorty batteries in here. You actually use this foam block to stop the battery from sliding up and down. This is obviously if you want to keep the bike nice and light. And you've got access to those shorty batteries. I think that's what that's for. They've also given you a spare spring for your servo saver, and there's a whole bunch of little plastic bits in here. These are for your chain, and also to tighten your chain on the swing arm back here. So it's an adjustment where the axle of the wheel can be a bit further forward or back depending on the slack of the chain. So that's what those little bits are for. 4 AA batteries for your radio, and of course some chain lube as well. Really nice that they've included this. This is a nice addition for something like the bike that has a chain that you don't usually get with radio control RCs, like cars for example. So good that they've included that. Now in this little baggie you get a couple of stickers. This is just a nice little LOSI sticker. This is a sticker as well. It's got a little QR code here for support, so you just put your phone over that and that'll take you to the support page, I think on either Horizon or LOSI. If you have any issues with the bike, that's what that's for. This one is kind of similar. Also has a QR code for support, but also has a QR code for upgrades, and this will actually take you to the LOSI website, where you can look up some of the upgrades available for these bikes, and that's just a nice little card you can keep in your wallet. It's got a hole here, so you can probably hang it off your keys if you want to. And then the rest of the literature back here, I'll quickly run through this so I don't bore you with it too much. We've got some additional stickers here. I won't take these off because this is really hard to take out of this plastic bag, but you got some blank stickers here for the back guards and the front here, so you can actually put different numbers on there if you want to, or just leave it blank, so that's entirely up to you. So that's what that's for, and of course you got some additional LOSI stickers there as well. You got a quick start guide, so again QR codes to videos and things like that. This will kind of help you get everything up and running really quickly. And then you have a little upgrade leaflet, so you've got some of the components that are already available for these bikes. or that will be available soon. Part numbers are all the way down there. It's different tires. There's a whole shot from Proline. You got the Supermoto for on-road. These are actually going to be really good. I'm keen to maybe get a set of those to run this on-road and just pop wheelies in car parks and stuff. I think that's going to be really fun. Different livery for your rider, and then you've got batteries and chargers, and you know, the DX5C if you want to play around with that and get some additional accessories. Second last thing here is this blank, what looks like a blank white sheet of paper, but it's actually numbered stickers. So I don't know if the light will pick this up. I'll see if I can get, you can sort of see all the cutouts there, maybe perhaps. So you've got 0 to 9, and there's 9 rows of this, so you can swap out numbers and so forth on the bike quite a few times actually. So they give you a full sheet of numbers that you can play around with. And then last but not least is of course the all exciting manual, which I know you've all been dying for me to talk about the manual. But this is actually quite thick, only because they've written this in about 300 different languages. I think I saw Klingon in here at one point. So there's also, you know, there's a lot of languages in here. But obviously the first one is English, which is probably what you're going to be flicking through. This has got all the initial setup and all how to charge your batteries, where everything goes, how to plug your battery in, how to turn it on, what the knobs on the radio do, all that sort of stuff. All the information that you need to be able to service the bike. And then at the back, you've got some exploded views, which are actually really well illustrated as well, with part numbers for everything. This will help you service the bike, and if you need to buy any parts, well, you've got the part numbers there to look up and, you know, be able to replace, repair, upgrade, and do whatever it is you want to do on the bike. Okay, time to start getting a little bit more technical, and we're going to kick this off with the radio. This is the Spektrum DX3, but it's not any ordinary DX3. This one's been modified a little bit to be able to work with the Promoto MX. So it still runs on 4AA's like all the other DX3s. It still has a nice feel on the trigger. Still got your little rocker switch over here on the thumb, which is actually going to come in handy for the modes on this particular bike. Nice drop down wheel with the foam surround. The wheel is a different color, so it's easier to identify this radio amongst all your other DX3s, which is a nice touch. You can pop off this little cap here to put in a little Bluetooth module, and you can hold your phone and all this sort of stuff. I don't think I'll be doing any of that, but it is a nice little feature that they've got included there. On and off switch is still back here. You still have the little light indicator here to tell you when you're running low on battery, but this only works when you're using Spektrum batteries. Just a little side note there. And you've got this switch down the bottom here, which is your speed limiter switch. So you got 50%, 75%, and 100%. That's what that guy does. Now, after that, things do start to get a little bit different. Over here, we have a flywheel on-off switch. So this is so that if you want to work on the bike, but you don't want to kick in the flywheel so it's not making a lot of noise, you can just leave this off. And then of course, when you're ready to run the bike, you flick that on, wait for the thing to spool up, and away you go. The bike is ready to roll. This is your steering reverse switch. This is really only going to be applicable for when you're actually binding the bike to the radio, if you need to do that. You swap out servos for whatever reason, whether you replace an existing one or you upgrade it. You may need to reverse the polarity of the servo so it works correctly. And then down the side here, you got a few different dials in here as well, which we're going to go through really quickly. So this is your MS6S rate. This is like your gyro. By adjusting this will allow you to kind of lean the bike over more or less, and you can play around with that to see, you know, what suits what, depending on the terrain that you're running, your skill level, your speed, all of that sort of thing. You can do that on the fly as you're driving the bike. You got front brake travel. So this is of course how much you want that brake to sort of clamp. You got steering sub trim. This is for you know, just making sure the bike is obviously steering straight when you're not touching the wheel. It's going as straight as it can go. And you got front brake trim. Again, this is just so to make sure that you've got good brakes, and you can adjust that by pulling the brake on there as well. And then you got a little bind button down the side here, and this guy here, the rocker, will actually adjust the modes on the bike on the fly. So as you're riding the bike, you can switch between off-road and on-road modes. And then there's obviously the wheelie mode, which is very popular at the moment with this bike. And once you select that, you get a series of little blinking lights up here to indicate what mode you're in. and the way you go. You know, you can just play around with the modes depending on what it is you want to do. So really nice radio and very well thought out, I think, with all the features and the adjustments that they've got on here to be able to work with this bike, and I can't wait to actually try it out and see how well it works. All right, so now we can move on to the bike itself, and I'll give you all a little bit of a spin around here just so you can have a good look at it. I will be bringing it up to the camera as we go through this, as you know, I kind of show you some of its features, but I don't want to be picking this up too often because it's actually quite heavy. Believe it or not, this thing clocks in at just over 3.5 kilos. And to put that into perspective, it weighs about the same as my Armour 6S Typhon that you see back there. So pretty heavy beast, very well built, a lot of quality components on here. And you know, we'll go through this and I'll kind of give you some comparisons against, say, my old Sky RC motorbike. So for those of you who've been following the channel for a few years, you'll probably remember that old bike and some of its features. I mean, it did okay for what it was, and a lot of off-road motorbikes are kind of like that, but LOSI have kind of reinvented the wheel, really, if you think about it, because there's a lot of changes on this bike, at least compared to that old Sky RC motorbike. So I guess we'll start with the lean bars. Now on that old motorbike, it just had like a wire loop that went around here on both sides. It was non-adjustable, and of course if it dug into the dirt a bit too much, it would unsettle the bike and then it'll be kind of all over the place. Whilst with this one, they've got these lean bars which are flexible for starters, like they've got a bit of give to them. They're also adjustable, so you can adjust the height of them, and then the wheels that they've got on there are on ball bearings, so they spin very freely, and that gives you the least amount of resistance when leaning the bike, and there's less chance of it unsettling when you're on a banked angle. So really nice touch there. I like what they've done with those particular lean bars. As we move on to, say, the suspension, I'll just move the stand a bit further back here, and we'll have a look at the main shock that they've got on the back. This is also adjustable. It is an alloy shock that they've got back there, and it is threaded, so you can adjust the stiffness of it a little bit, but that's really well dampened. And it doesn't rebound back too quickly either, so it's going to keep the bike nice and settled when you do land those big jumps or you're going over some rough terrain. The front shocks, of course, have a huge amount of travel. I'll see if I can demonstrate this as best as I can, but you can see that there's quite a fair amount of travel there on those shocks. There's also some crash protection there, so if you do land really badly, you can see that the bike or the shocks actually flex quite a bit, like so. So they also pivot backwards. Of course, there is a limit. You're going to hit it hard enough, you probably are going to break something, but at least they've given you a little bit of prevention there, for those sort of small to medium impacts, and you shouldn't have too many issues with those shocks. The plastic fenders and everything, so on the Sky RC, a lot of it was actually Lexan. Here they've actually gone for plastic. This has actually got a fair amount of flex in it, and same with the back guards and everything. So these have all got a fair bit of give, so they should last quite a while. On the back here, you've probably seen this where it's got this little flipper door, so if you do wheelie a bit too far, it's just going to flex like that, or rather open up like that, and it's not going to break the plastic off. There is a little plastic stopper on the back here, so it will eventually hit that a little bit more solid support and stop it from overextending. Of course, if you come off a jump and you really mess it up, you land this way, you are likely to cause some serious damage there and perhaps even break it off. But at least, again, they've given you a little bit of prevention there on the most common incident, which is just going a bit too far on the wheelie. And I do believe you can adjust that via the gyro on the remote as well. So the swing arm is plastic, but it is a special type of plastic designed to be quite durable and solid. There are aluminium upgrades available for these as well. You've got a full metal chain that goes all the way around a metal sprocket over here. There's a little chain guard here as well. And of course, you've got the chain lube to go with it. The tires are actually really nice. I think these may actually be, they'll probably be made by Proline, really, because the tread pattern looks very similar to the Badlands tread pattern. That's both for the front and the rear. So this is actually the front, but there you are there. So the tread pattern is very similar to the MX-28 and MX-38, I think, from Proline. Of course, it doesn't have Proline anywhere written on it, just got some Dunlop. They are saying that these are licensed tyres, and probably they are. I'm not familiar with the motocross tyre, but if that's what they're claiming, then I'll go with it. You've got your front disc brake here as well, so you'll see that this is actually a working disc brake, and you got your little cable that goes along here, and that's connected to a servo which pulls on it, and there's a little caliper that locks it up, and you can adjust all of that via the radio as well. Of course, silver spoke wheels front and rear. I have seen already some attachments that you can put on these, some alloy 5-spoke attachments that you can put. I think these little black screws that are going on here, they come off and you can put those attachments. I think there's also different wheels that are available as well. So you can replace the entire wheel completely and swap out tires and whatever it is you want to do. The rider himself, he's a pretty cool dude. And there are different jerseys and things and pants and uniforms that you can get for these guys. To my knowledge, there's only the LOSI variants available, but that's not to say that there won't be more available from third-party companies in the near future. The riders themselves, I think, are like 2 or 3 parts, so they do split in the middle. There's a pin here that you can actually pop this guy out. I think there's a body pin on the front, so you pop that out and you slide the pin off and you can replace the whole top half of him. The jerseys are very easy to replace. There's a little zipper just on the back here. You can unzip that, replace his jerseys, or just take them out and give them a wash. If they get really muddy and dirty, you can do that as well. I don't believe the helmets or the heads are replaceable at this stage, but I could be wrong on that. And what I would like to see actually is different boots, different color boots, different styles of boots, same with the gloves. And again, I think that's only going to be a matter of time before third-party companies jump on board and start giving us something with Fox logos or whatever other type of logo there are in the motocross world. Yeah, I think that'll be really cool because people are going to be wanting to customize these things to look like themselves. So if you are a motocross rider, maybe you ride a KTM, maybe you ride a Honda or whatever, maybe you got a Husqvarna and you want to, change this out so it looks like that. Also, if you have your own type of uniform, you want to change that out so it looks like you, or you want to change it out like one of your favorite riders out there. There's obviously a demand for that sort of thing, so people can actually change these out and customize them to their liking. So really would like to see that come through in the near future, and given the popularity of these bikes, I think that's more than likely going to happen. So I'm really looking forward to that. Of course, there are no real sort of electrics to show off here. Everything is encased in the center. The only thing you can really see is the on-off switch, which is just on the side here. But everything else is tucked away, out of the way. And I guess that's one of the really good things about this particular bike, is just that illusion of scale that you get, or that you don't get, with the Sky RC motorbike. Because with the Sky RC motorbike, you see the electric motor, you see all the cabling, you see where you plug your battery into. Here it's quite different, and they've obviously taken the time to design this bike around the battery placement and where the flywheel is going to be, to give us that as close to reality as possible. Now, of course, this could be silver, could be a different color, they could have some fake, exhausts here and all this sort of thing. That obviously hasn't happened, and I don't blame him for doing that, because if you put anything here, this is going to fold forward or fold back. It could very much hit it and just create more problems. So that's probably one thing that they can look into, or there could be an aftermarket thing for that. But at the moment, I like the illusion that they've created. I think it looks fantastic. Speaking of powering this thing up, actually, the battery back here, I'll try and show you this as best as I can. So the battery loads up from the back. So you just take a single body pin out of here. This whole tray opens up, and then I've got my Spectrum 5000 milliamp 30C battery that I've had now for a while. I will pop that in here. Now, what I found is that the balance lead kind of needs to go underneath the power lead, and it tucks away behind the exhaust, so it's out of harm's way. And then you squeeze everything together here real tight, and then you can put your body pin back into place just like so. If I can find the hole for the body pin. There it is there, and boom, that's it, it's in. And then this runs an IC5 connector. So this has the right connector, so I can just plug that in there. It's usually easier with my left hand, and boom, that's in. So that's now ready to be powered up. Now, if you have a battery that has an EC5 plug, that will work just fine. And I'll quickly take this battery out of here and I'll show you the difference between one and the other for those of you who perhaps still don't know that both EC5 and IC5 plugs do work with each other quite well. We'll just put the bike over there for now. So the IC5 plug has an additional pin in the middle just here. So this additional pin just here is connected to a grey cable that runs all the way to the battery, and it has like a little computer chip here, and it gives you your voltage telemetry on the radio. That's what those little lights on the back of the radio are. Now, if you have an EC5 plug like this, they do actually plug into each other, so they will work just fine, just like so. The difference is, when you are plugging an EC5 connector to an IC5 connector, the pin is basically just floating there, it doesn't do anything. So if you're using a battery, say for example something like this, right, which has the same dimensions as, you know, the Spectrum battery, it's exactly the same size, but it doesn't have an IC5 plug, it just has an EC5 plug. Let's pretend that we've got the right plug on here. You can still use this on this bike, you're just not going to get voltage telemetry. That's really the only difference. So hopefully that clears that up. Yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this one up here because I've shown everything that I can show on this bike. I can't wait to actually charge up a battery and, you know, get out there and actually run this thing. So stay tuned for that because I will have more videos of these coming up very shortly. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for this unboxing. Once again, I want to give a big shout out to Metro Hobbies for helping me secure this bike so early on. I thought I was going to have to wait till the next shipment. So to get it on the first round, I'm super stoked, and I was very happy to get that phone call. So big shout out to them and a big thumbs up to them as well. I'll have links in the video description to the Metro Hobbies website, as well as links to the LOSI website where you can get a bit more technical and get a bit more info on the bike. And I'll have links in there to my social media as well if you want to stay a couple of steps ahead of what goes on here on YouTube. That's going to be it from me, guys. Thank you all very much for watching. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button before you go. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll be speaking to you all next time.